What, you know what, just to be safe, thing you did ended up saving your ass later. I was an expeditor at a restaurant. It was super busy and I was trying to get runners for food. Was about to send out a stack of dim sum when I looked at the ticket again with a note that said no peanuts on the tempura tofu. I had read it earlier and didn't sprinkle peanuts on it. Another server was about to run it to the table when I told him to wait and get the actual server for the table. We were slammed and he was kinda pissed but went and got him. The actual server comes back and he's all frustrated when I ask him, does your no peanuts guy not like peanuts or is he allergic to them? Server responds with he's very allergic to them. That's why I put no peanuts on the ticket. He was all being shitty with me. I told him well the tempura tofu is fried in peanut oil. Didn't realize the head chef was behind me and heard the whole thing. Server didn't know we only used peanut oil. It was an Asian fusion really nice upscale restaurant. Needless to say the head chef reamed this guy. I was a half second from sending that food out too. Would have been bad. Safety glasses. When working away it's easy to talk yourself into doing something really quick without them and there is always a voice in your head yelling at you to put them on. Stopped grinding the thing I was working on, got my glasses, came back. And then this chunk flies up and cracks the right lens. I've had a handful of these in my life. The one that popped in my head first was from a party when I was 16. It was in a small farm town about 20 to 25 minutes from my actual town and everyone was out partying in somebody's parents' barn and having a real good time. I didn't realize that RDD had been drinking all night. When it was time to go, I couldn't even tell she was tipsy. But something wasn't right, so I didn't want to drive back with them. For whatever reason I decided to get the verbal tongue lashing from my mom when she came to pick me up. Well, my friends in the first car were apparently veering across the road, got picked up by the cops and all of them got to spend the night in jail. Glad I opted for my mom. Arrive in San Francisco a week into a trip. As we gather our things during a moment of downtime I go back to check the bus cause. You know, it never hurts. Found my passport, which I had no idea I'd dropped. When I was like 5 years old my parents took my sister and me to a planetarium show, and every kid got a souvenir pencil that had the distances of the planets from the sun written on it: Mercury, Venus, Earth, etc. The guy running the planetarium show said something like, hang on to these pencils until 7th grade kids, and you can use them to cheat on your astronomy tests. He was joking but I never forgot, and sure enough it was the exact pencil I used to cheat on astronomy in 7th grade. I felt smart but also bad because I didn't feel good cheating and almost never cheated after that. I had a car sitting on jack stands because I needed to do some transmission work. Before climbing under it, I thought it'd be a good idea to rock the car around. One of the jack stands was not in the right spot and the car slipped off it, slamming down on the front disc brakes. Would have killed me. I was going on a road trip. We packed everything in the trunk. Then I realized that I forgot to check the air in the spare tire. Faced with unpacking and repacking, I thought, what are the odds? We've had the car for years. Never had a flat. We probably won't have a flat now. Then I thought, screw that, and tossed the floor pump I use for my bicycle into the trunk, just in case. Got a flat in the middle of nowhere. Spare was too flat to drive on. Floor pump saved my ass. It gets packed on every trip now. Saved an email where a lead developer told me to do something stupid. A couple years later, him now a manager who liked to yell at his subordinates. We were talking about this stupid behavior and he yelled, well, why did you do that? I pulled up his email, clearly instructing me to do just that. He sputtered and walked off, speechless. This guy is one of the reasons I still have trust issues with management, even after a string of really competent, caring, trustworthy managers. Take 10 before you send has saved my ass countless times. Means take 10 seconds to reread your email before you send. Emails, especially in the workplace, last forever. So, you mean everyone else doesn't reread their emails 40 times and then finally hit the send button with anxiety for no apparent reason? Well shit. I always reread it 40 times and then find a typo right after I hit send. I bought a used Subaru Baja that was 5 years old at the time and had 75k miles for $12,000. The salesman offered an extended warranty that covered the engine for $2,500. Would last 3 years, 36k miles. That was kind of a lot, and I usually don't buy those. I don't know what got into me that day, but I said sure. 1 month and 750 miles later, after an oil change at a mechanic shop, oil started shooting into the pistons. I'm not good with cars. Oil went where it wasn't supposed to go. Completely ruined the engine and turbo. The dealer had to keep it for 3 weeks. The warranty company flew someone out to inspect the car, and eventually approved a replacement engine, turbo, and any other affected parts. Total repairs cost almost $11,000, and the warranty then applied to all the new parts too. Car drove like it was brand new. Later discovered the car had 5 previous owners before me, but I couldn't find any accident or serious repair history. This is probably the only time buying an extended warranty on something actually worked out in my favor. I bought a really nice tablet a few years ago, a Wacom Intuos Cintiq, essentially a drawing tablet built into a laptop for animation and the like. Sometimes when you buy nice things they come in nice boxes, and for some reason I don't really want to throw this box away immediately. I put it in the storage area of my basement and forgot about it. After only about a month this $2,500 tablet stopped working. It wasn't dropped or damaged, and I'm still not sure how it broke. It would simply try to boot up and fail, crashing and demanding a restart. I called support, and after several calls and many hours, we were unable to resolve the issue. They said I could send it back and get a new one if it wasn't physically damaged. They told me it needed to be sent back in the original box. I now keep boxes for everything I buy until the warranty expires. Was remodeling my house. Took out a loan and had to get the house appraised to get the loan. Found that my house was worth $100k more than I had it insured for. Raised my limits on the home insurance to $50k more than the appraised value in anticipation of completing renovations. 2 weeks later, house burned to the ground due to a faulty bathroom fan that I did not touch. City, insurance company and loan company all sent separate investigators due to how shady it looked. When I was 20, I worked at a gas station. They had just changed the law to if the customer looked 40 and under, you had to ID them for cigarettes. I was by myself. Lady came in and ordered a pack of Camels. She looked roughly 45, so I didn't ask. I had this nagging feeling throughout the transaction that it would be a very good idea to ask. So before I took her money I kinda laughed and said, mind if I see your ID real quick? I'm really sorry. You're clearly old enough, but they changed the law recently on who we have to ID. She just looks at me and said, I'm so glad you asked, and flashed her work card at me. She was a freaking inspector. If I didn't ask her, I would have been arrested and fined. That was the day I learned to trust my gut. And I also suck at telling people's ages. She was 35. Couple of years ago I restarted The Sopranos from season 1. I think it's in the first season where the water heater leaks and floods Tony's basement. So there are these scenes where he's wading around in a flooded basement. I was imagining what a nightmare that would be. It reminded me that when I bought my house, the inspector told me I would need to replace the water heater within 5 years. I then realized that was like 12 years prior. So I suddenly got nervous. I went and looked at the water heater, and it seemed fine, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I also did not have the money to pay to have a new water heater installed. So, I decided to go ahead and buy a new water heater and then save up money to pay someone to install it. The water heater arrived and I stored it in the laundry room. Just a few weeks after it arrived, I happened to look at the old water heater, and I noticed the catch pan under it had an inch of water in it. It was leaking. Oh no. Emergency. Except wait a minute. I already have a plan for this. So, instead of saving up money to hire a plumber, I went to YouTube and learned how to install my own water heater. It all worked out perfectly. All because The Sopranos made me anxious about the condition of my water heater, causing me to randomly purchase a water heater I had no immediate plan to install. Went hiking in the middle of the day with a friend and his girlfriend. I brought flashlights for each of us. Well, the hike took a lot longer than expected and my buddy's girlfriend sprained her foot at the end. It took us nearly 3 times as long to get back and it was dark with relatively rocky terrain. Those flashlights saved our bacon. I can't even fathom how long it would take to stumbling in the dark otherwise. I had originally booked a rental car for a trip to Iceland using my credit card points. 2 days before, I cancelled and booked it with my credit card, which provides rental vehicle coverage because it looked like the weather wasn't going to be great while we were there and I wanted the extra protection. While there, we got into an accident for which we were not at fault. The car was almost a total loss and I had to pay $12,000 plus out of pocket to the company. It took a few months and a ton of paperwork, but the credit card company refunded all of it. I still think about how so lucky it was that I changed the booking. I would have been ruined for a very long time otherwise. I used to be a banner tow pilot, and was often tasked to fly banners over NYC area, especially over the Hudson River. I would pick them up at an airport in NJ and make my way over from there. Typically, if you were to run into some kind of engine problem, you have a fair number of places you could theoretically land if you had engine trouble. Not so much over the NYC metro area, so I picked out a trail of breadcrumbs, if you will, of specific places I could try to land my plane if I ever had to. On the 1-year anniversary of the miracle on the Hudson, I was given the job to fly a banner over a boat on the Hudson that would be carrying the crew and some passengers from the flight. On the way there, my engine failed while I was less than 1,000 feet above the ground, sinking quickly. I needed to find a place to land right away. Fortunately, my best previously selected spot was just to my left, a landfill on Staten Island, and I put the plane right on the top of it. My friends and I were always giving shit to another friend because he was never wearing the seatbelt while driving. One night another friend and him drove me home. It was pretty late and we were all tired. When they dropped me off I told him, "Use the seatbelt, you dumbass." The next day, around lunchtime, I got a call that my 2 friends got in a car accident. The dumbass fell asleep while driving my other dumbass friend's car. They hit a parked car, which hit the car in front of it and got stuck into a wall. The parked car acted as a ramp for their car. They flipped over and slid like 20 meters upside down. For some reason the dumbass had his seatbelt on for the first time ever and he didn't get injured. Both of them crawled outside the car without a single scratch. If I'm not wrong, my friend in the passenger seat broke his pinky though. Dumbass learnt his lesson and his seatbelt is always on now, even when he's in the passenger seat.